Mr. Sean Stone, please come to the stage. If you know him, give him a round of applause. If you don't, you're about to learn a lot from an incredible man. Courageous, compassionate, extraordinary on so many levels. Part of our men's group on the excursion that we went on last spring down to the Everglades, along with Mike and Fernando. Fernando's here, I don't see him at the moment. We went to the Everglades, if you want, we went to the Everglades and had an amazing journey. And after that experience, actually during the experience, we put some really big intentions into the fire. And it was a very sacred moment around what was next in our lives. And what power can we step into? What are we really meant to do as men? What challenge can we take on? What kingdom can we create? And those were our intentions. We really didn't know where they were going to lead. Shortly after that experience, Sean reached out to Jeff and I and said, hey guys, that was pretty awesome. And that was our first real experience together. What else can we do? We brainstormed, summit. That was the word. We need to do a summit together. So we started calling everyone that we knew that was the right people. Sayer G came through, introduced us to a lot of amazing people. Sean, of course, brought Kaya Leo in. Amazing. Round of applause for Kaya Lee. Get ready for an amazing experience with her this afternoon. Get ready for that. And that's how this has really all evolved. So massive gratitude for your presence in my life, man. This is a lot of has to do with you, brother.
It's all guidance, right? We always have to trust that we are being guided and we are being connected to the people at the time. When I met Jeff at an event because of Kaya, and was it Giselle, I think, was hosting the event, and it was just synergy, right? So you go from there and you follow the synergy, and I think that's the point. It's like everyone that's been speaking that I've heard talk, I haven't heard every talk obviously this weekend, but a lot of it is about this idea of just like essentially this genius, this guidance that comes through us, the spirit that works through us, that we are not. When we get into our ego, we take credit for things, right? And that's a big issue with our society in general, as we know. I grew up in, what they call Hollywood, LA, and that whole vibration. It's like the biggest problem we face whenever I go there now, especially having moved out. It's like, ooh, you just feel like, it's run on ego. It's like everyone is fighting, and what ego puts you into is a state of scarcity, right? Because you're in fear. Am I getting enough? Am I getting enough? I want more. Wait, I'm not getting enough. If I have enough, now I got to protect it, now I got to defend it, now I got to kill for it, right? That's the state that they have been running. They have been running. Let's say our darker side has been running. It's within each of us, that ego state, right? That reptilian brain that's all about fear, protection, fighting, right? Fleeing, but not that magnanimous, open, courageous lion heart that's like, whew, it's not about me. It's bigger than me. I trust there's something else guiding it. And so really, we are moving into the golden age beyond ego, where we know that there's enough for every one of us, because we know we are enough, and every one of us is a beautiful little, not little, but a beautiful part of the whole, right? And no one else, and that's what like the biggest thing that came through to me, even like in my journeys with ego and battles with ego, is always like, no one is what you are, no one can do what you are. And it doesn't mean it's better or less than, it's just unique. Right? It's unique. My voice is unique to me. Your voice is unique to you, right? Every aspect of your being is unique to you if we can own and honor it. And so that's what this shift is all about. It's just getting to that place of, okay, I get those moments. Everyone gets those moments of, ooh, maybe I'm like, am I getting enough? Am I protecting enough? Whew, breathe into that. Go beyond it. Trust that this is all a process, that we are all in this together, that every one of us is a reflection of each other, because there is only oneness, right? And just like the ocean, every water drop is a unique little drop, but guess what? It all is part of that one ocean. And that's every one of us that's on this planet right now, every living creature, the earth itself. We are all part and connected to that oneness. So there really is nothing to be afraid of or to feel scarcity around, or not, to feel that we're missing, because it's all available to us. And the more that we just trust, the more we're going to find our allies, we're going to find our friends, the stronger we become, right? Because as the Machiavellian quote was wrong when it said it's fear basically is the greatest motivator, right? There was the whole idea of fear is more important than love, because when they fear you, right, they'll respect you, and the tyrant has to be feared. Well, what's the problem with that? The problem is that when you're feared and you're weak and you're sick, what do? Everyone's going to come and stab you. When you're loved and you're weak and you're sick, they're going to lift you up. Just like that teddy bear. in the hypnosis, right?
The profundity of the pink teddy bear. One more cheers for Gerald last night. How awesome was that? Ooh, and a round of applause for Mr. Sung Chul G over here, Sayer G's father. I just see joined the crowd. You're going to meet this amazing man later today, Professor Emeritus at Rutgers University. This is an extraordinary man. I don't know where Sayer and Tia Kansara are here, but I'm really glad you're here, sir. Thank you so much for being here. Amazing man right there. So as you heard, Sean grew up in LA. And who here knows Sean Stone? Yeah, okay, let's give a round of applause. Okay, so I didn't give much of a background because we have a relationship here, but Sean's been featured on Mind Valley, Russia Today. I know it's a little bit scandalous now, but he did amazing work on there and has been around the world as a spiritual teacher and a mentor at a very high level and grew up in a very high level of knowledge. And as is being disclosed now about JFK's assassination and the CIA being involved and public record and RFK Jr. coming out and saying these things very publicly, as you may know, Director Oliver Stone is this man's father, and has been deep in this work for quite some time, exposing what's going on behind the scenes. And what you're alluding to, as many of you are aware, is this power behind the scenes. Some may call it the cabal. Some may call it the Illuminati. Some may call it the elite. And we can't be afraid of this. And as Sean was saying, there's a darkness within ourselves that's being echoed in the world. And doing the inner work, changing our inner perspective, that's how we really make massive change. And as you're going to experience later today with Paul Hutchinson, there are horrible, horrible things happening in the world. The human trafficking crisis is real. The child sex trafficking crisis is real. These are horrific, unspeakable tragedies. We must come into the necessity of our leadership. And that's what this talk is meant to be, the necessity of your leadership. So if you would please speak on why each of us that is aware of these things is so needed, and how do you find that courage and that force within you to be the leader that you are?
Well, I feel like there's a lot to unpack. So just, in terms of, I can only speak really from my journey and myself. As you mentioned, I grew up with a father who was doing films that were very impactful in consciousness, right? And it's interesting how you see the magic and alignment of something like that, right? Because many people are doing things in the world and it's meaningful. There are many artists that are painting and you'll never have heard their name, but you'll be like, wow, they have beautiful paint, or they're beautiful painters, or they're singing and you don't necessarily know them. Why is it that certain people get magnified to that level, right, of superstardom, right, and affects consciousness globally? And so having observed this my life and kind of felt into it, there's multiple forces at work. There is this idea okay, there's a dark cabal that's magnifying things, and we can look at that historically. There's truth to CIA mind control. Tavistock is another one in England that was always interested in mind control and how to manipulate the mind of people and to utilize music, for example, en masse. And so, the way that they created the top 40 playlist, was already affecting the minds of people, because before that, it was people were listening more to classical, and then it shifted to jazz. And then when you got the top 40, it was you got to get that song in there in 3 to 4 minutes to basically get on the radio. And then if you think about when you listen to music and you're when you were a kid maybe, and you would hear a song once and maybe the second time, and then all of a sudden the third time, it's just you're singing along and you're hypnotized and you love it, and you didn't even like it the first time you heard it. That's the nature of how hypnosis can work. So we know these things are an aspect of manipulation of culture, social engineering, right? And I did a documentary called Hollywood DC that gets into some of this social engineering that's gone on. But then there's also an aspect that seems to be tied into it that you can't manipulate, which is the nature of consciousness itself, and almost as though human consciousness can only experience what it's ready to experience. And so you could, for example, point to what's happening with the UFOs at this point, right? Where all of a sudden people like myself who've been interested in the UFO since the 90s, who myself was studying the people that were interested in writing about this since the 70s, and then the people who had basically been looking at this since 47 with Roswell, and then going back to even before that with the Charles Forts and others who'd been looking at this phenomenon, and the Jacques Vallées who've been studying this phenomenon, basically saying this goes back much more deeper in human history. And all of a sudden here we are in 2023, and literally the mainstream media the last few years has talked about UFOs being spotted and video of UFOs, but now they're talking about, oh yeah, mainstream media is saying that there's evidence that the Pentagon and others are hiding craft and technology that's coming from these.
Excuse
things.
me 1 second, brother. Anna, will you check the projector? Projectors, huh? Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so
it's all good.
So the point being that, like, why is it that consciousness seems to be now ready to experience this? So we could sit there and go, oh, this is all being manipulated, this is all being engineered by the dark side, and we can go into that paranoid perspective, right? That it's all dark guiding it, or we can recognize that human consciousness is integrally tied to the revelation experience of our reality. And so it's not that I look at things as like it's darkness guiding it. It's so much as darkness feeds where we feed it, right? Darkness basically is like the parasite that you feed until you get to that place where you're no longer wanting to feed the parasite. And so actually I see it as, yes, there has been this transition in human consciousness especially since the First and Second World Wars, of a globalized consciousness, a transition away from traditional cultures that were maybe in many ways more isolated, to a place of total, like, we're interacting globally on a daily basis, right? And we're interfacing with each other in a whole new relationship to humanity. And there's so many different factors and facets to it that we can't just boil it all down to the dark side manipulating us, as so far as saying there is an agenda to socially engineer. We have to be savvy and aware of the agenda. But more importantly, where do we, each of us, fit into this? Because look at the technologies that have been given to us from the internet forward has given every one of us a platform, a voice, an ability to say, I'm the media host now. I don't need to watch CNN for the hosting or Fox News for the hosting. I've got my platform. I've got my little page, whatever it is, even if it's only.
Who wants to be a bigger platform?
People.
Who wants to share their voice? Who wants to be the voice of change? Who wants to be the change? Yes, we are the change. All of this is an echo of us. This exists because we're not sharing as much as we need to. They only have power because we stand back and watch. The opposite of love is not fear, nor hate. It is apathy. Do not be apathetic. Be a leader. You have it in you. Please continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly the point. So as we are basically being asked as individuals to take more of a stand, to have a voice, to have more influence and impact in the global community, right? That's how we defeat the dark, by finding the strength and the courage within ourselves, so that we can no longer be hypnotized. Like, even like watching the performance yesterday and the amazing hypnotic skills, we realized with hypnosis, we all have that ability, but the question is, are we going to be suggestible to them, or are we going to say, wait a minute, you know what? I don't like that suggestion. I'm taking control of my mind, right? I'm going to use my abilities and my mind for what I want to do, for what I'm here to offer. And so that's where this all is shifting. That's why I think, like, I really see Hollywood kind of dying at this point. People saying like, I don't believe in the fake stars anymore. That's all, no, that's illusion. That's not, no, I want to be the star of the movie now. And every one of us is the star of our own movie, but we haven't trusted fully in ourselves to be that star, right? That's why we've given so much of our power away. So as I say, the dark has been filling in those gaps until the light is ready to reveal that which really was always there. It's just we weren't ready to receive it or see it.
I love that. Round of applause for that. Yes. And there's a phrase that has come to mind so clearly around this subject. And I've been aware of these issues for a while. When I was 21 years old, through a few fluke synchronicities, I got an internship for a private equity firm when I was 21. I was in college. And I met some very powerful people, very wealthy people. One of them was a high-level Freemason. And for whatever reason, he decided to spill the beans on this stuff to me in a major way. And he shared his opinion from an elite perspective on 9/11. And on the Iraq War, and on a whole bunch of stuff that was happening at the time that's very scandalous and frightening to say out loud. But he told me a lot of crazy things, and that sent me down a rabbit hole that we could spend days talking about up here. And the conclusion of all of that is the fact that we have to emphasize our responsibility. And the only reason that they're winning is we're not sharing our light. And here's the key phrase that comes from all of this. After 17 years of spending a lot of time in this world and reading a lot about it, we're not here to fight the matrix. We're not here to fight anything. We're here to make it completely fucking irrelevant. We're here to make it completely irrelevant. And if we come together in a tribe, if we transcend the fear, if we tap into love on another level and live from that place, it is irrelevant. We can connect, we can create, we can live in a beautiful way, and all of it becomes completely irrelevant. So if some of this you find disagreeable, maybe you're unfamiliar with, it's like, guys, what the hell am I involved in here? Who are these people? Dig deeper, because there's a lot here, and a lot of brilliant minds have analyzed this from a lot of perspectives, and Sean's one of them. And he has, it wasn't your PhD, but your thesis at Oxford on the New World Order, correct? Is that it correctly?
Well, Princeton, but yeah, it was
Princeton,
my thesis.
pardon me.
It was,
so a pretty good school. Can we agree Princeton's like, you got to be kind of intelligent and rational and objective to make it through Princeton? So we've only got a few minutes here. Unfortunately, we've kind of got to make some time adjustments. But if we have 3 minutes basically. So if these are the last 3 minutes you have on stage, and I see you having a long, beautiful, powerful life, but if these were the last few minutes that you had, just share your message, brother. Share your message. I know it's a lot. Well, take a breath. Kaya, can you give us a breath on this one?
The beauty of life
Sacred breath.
The beauty of life is there really is no end, right? I mean, that's the truth. The truth is there is no end. There is no death. There's just transitions. I feel like I spend a lot of time, not a lot of time, but I enjoy my time in dream time these last few years especially. It's like my dream time has been so active and so fascinating. And it makes me realize, or just affirms, as I think Dr. Mraz was saying yesterday, it's like, I'm good. Like when I pass on from this physical form, I know I'm good. This is all illusion, as has been said for thousands of years, but it's important illusion. It's not disassociative in the sense of, oh, it's just illusion, do whatever you want. It's illusion that has impact on a soul level because emotions mean something, right? It's energy and motion that affects us. And as Kai was talking about yesterday, it lives in the body. So what we move through in this lifetime is very important for karmic purposes to release, right? To release the traumas and the entrapment that we've been in. I mean, the fact of this hypnosis that we're talking about is only because humans have been traumatized for so many thousands of years, systematically abused and made to feel disempowered, and physically abused and assaulted, verbally abused and assaulted. So it's like it puts people into trauma states that we are now working through in not just in this lifetime, but in past and in future. But this is a great opportunity to realize, wow, we are evolving through this human form by feeling our emotions, by going through this, by releasing this attachment to the pain, to the trauma that's allowed us to be enslaved, essentially. And that's the moment that we are at now, essentially, is this step away from the Piscean school age, where we were basically told to conform and to fit into the schools, to now we're the water bearers. That means we're carrying the wisdom. We're walking on the land now. And as the lands, we become sovereigns, kings and queens over our body, over our domain, over our mind and our spirit and our territory.
Who's feeling like a king or a queen right now? Yes? Yes. Make the sound of a king. Make the sound of a queen. Woo! Yes. Yes.
And so that's really what that's the message that's coming through. It's like letting go of the concepts. Even time is this old Saturnian concept. Time has no application in nature. You want to go out in nature and be like, all right, it's 6 o'clock. Where's my berries? They're like, we're not ready yet, you know? All right, the tide should turn. It's 4 o'clock. Where's the tide turning? They're like, we don't care. It's 4 o'clock. This old Saturnian modality doesn't work with us because we're agriculture. We're sprouted from the earth. We're still connected to the earth. We are still working with the earth's resonance. And so everything that's been done to us has been trying to put us into a box that doesn't fit. We don't fit in that box. We don't fit with their conception of time. So it's time for us to the time is just irrelevant. The moment is now for us to seize this opportunity to say, hey, wait a minute. This is the present. This is my reality. I'm in control here. I'm taking my power back, and I'm going to walk as a king or a queen on this earth.
Yes, yes, and yes. All right, we got 1 minute here. Is there someone that has a really burning question that we can have a brief, powerful answer to? Okay.
Starting today, what can all of us in this room do to help support what you were saying, that it's not about combating, it's about creating, like what action steps we all take in honor of everything that we're here for today?
1 minute. Thank you.
It's like judo or tai chi or any martial art that brings you into the moment, right? Relationship to breath, to the now. How can I be in the presence of what's arriving, right? And what's arising. So that's really how it starts. We stop fighting when we let go of stories, all these beliefs that we carry, right? Most of the time, it's irrelevant to now. Even the things we think that we know has no bearing on this moment. It's like so many times we're walking around disconnected from the moment going, well, I know that yesterday I got a parking ticket, so today I should get a parking ticket if I don't. Just let go of all of that. Be present to now. What's the feeling that's arriving if I'm just in the presence of the now, in my being? And that, let that guide me. If I feel like going this way, I'll go this way. If I feel like going that way, I should go that way. If I feel like just sitting here, I should sit here. That's the way that we recreate our reality, essentially, is just by showing up to now without the story and the baggage of everything that came before.
Thank you so much, bro. I can spend days up here with you. Thank you so much. Round of applause for Sean Stone here doing amazing things in the world.